Welcome back to Power Unchecked. Last time, we decoded psychological manipulation, how power warps reality to serve its agenda. Today, we're mapping something far more insidious, the architecture of silence. Picture this: a compliance officer discovers fraud, emails, spreadsheets, the whole digital trail. Her pulse quickens. This could change everything. But then, the calculation hits. Legal fees, $200,000 minimum. Career prospects obliterated, family security gone. She deletes the files, not from cowardice, from design. Research reveals that 79% of employees who spot misconduct never report it. This isn't personal failure. It's engineered capitulation. Today, we're dissecting the machine that makes truth feel like career suicide. Silence isn't empty space. It's a fortress with economic walls, surveillance towers, and psychological moats. The SEC celebrated paying $255 million to 47 whistleblowers in 2024, their third highest payout ever. Since 2011, over $2.2 billion to 444 individuals. Sounds like victory, right? Wrong, look closer. For every whistleblower who speaks, dozens calculate the cost and stay quiet. Research shows 62% of potential whistleblowers remain silent due to financial dependency. That's not accident, that's architecture. Think about the scandals that shocked us. Weinstein, Epstein, corporate fraud that spans decades. Here's what's chilling: in 68% of major scandals, at least 5 people knew the truth for years. Yet silence reigned, not from apathy, from system design. Let's start with the coldest calculation: money. Karen Silkwood exposed nuclear dangers in 1974. She died in a car crash, accident, or message? The warning echoed for decades. Chelsea Manning revealed war crimes and faced solitary confinement. Edward Snowden exposed mass surveillance and lives in exile. Here's the brutal math. Research shows whistleblowers lose $5,500 to $6,500 annually for a decade after speaking up. A recent court ruling in Perlick v. Veterans Affairs finally acknowledged that federal whistleblowers deserve compensation for future lost earnings, not just back pay. Progress? Yes. Sufficient? Hardly. Now picture the dependency trap. A graduate student's advisor harasses her, but he controls her degree, her references, her future. A manager discovers fraud, but his stock options aren't vested, and his spouse needs expensive medication. Research reveals that debt-burdened individuals are 45% less likely to report misconduct. This isn't employment, it's hostage-taking with a salary. The system's genius lies in its subtlety. Stalin sent dissidents to gulags, messy, obvious. Today's retaliation is surgical. Security clearances mysteriously stall. Research grants dry up. Performance reviews sour without explanation. A 2022 study found 54% of retaliated employees faced soft, sabotage, administrative torture designed to look routine. The SEC pursued 11 enforcement actions in 2024 against restrictive agreements, double the previous year. One case resulted in an $18 million penalty, the highest ever for silencing clauses. But punishment evolved. It's not dramatic, it's death by 1,000 bureaucratic cuts. Step into the boardroom where everyone sees the fraud, but no one speaks. This isn't about consensus, it's about the psychological trap of groupthink. Research shows that in loyalty-driven companies, 67% of employees ignore clear red flags to maintain group harmony. I've watched this unfold. The question shifts from what's right to what's expected. Belonging becomes a silent pact of complicity. Then there's the bystander effect, that cruel twist where crowds paralyze action. In 1964, Kitty Genovese was murdered while dozens heard her screams. No one called for help, each assuming someone else would. Workplaces operate on identical logic. Recent surveys show 79% of workers observed harassment or fraud within 5 years. Only 21% reported it. Why? Guilt dissolves in crowds. HR will handle it. It's above my pay grade. Research proves that in groups of 5 or more, reporting rates plummet by 40%. The crowd becomes silence's perfect shield. And collective denial, the group's shared delusion that preserves comfort. Teams rationalize abuse as tough leadership. Fraud becomes creative accounting. A linguistic study found 73% of corporate apologies use euphemisms. Mistakes were made, unfortunate oversights, to dodge accountability. Think enhanced interrogation for torture. Detention centers for concentration camps. The group embraces these linguistic alibis because confronting truth would shatter their shared illusion. The system's reach extends beyond economics and groups. It colonizes your mind. Picture the junior employee facing harassment. She wants to speak, but an internal voice whispers, "You're overreacting. You'll ruin everything. This is your fault." That's the just world fallacy, the psychological trap convincing us that bad things only happen to those who deserve them. Research shows 58% of abuse victims initially blame themselves. Abusers exploit this. "You're too sensitive. No one will believe you." The system doesn't need to silence them. They become their own jailers. Denial forms the next layer, a protective shield for fractured psyches. When truth inflicts unbearable pain, we rewrite it. "It wasn't that bad. Maybe I caused it." A trauma study linked self-blame to 30% higher silence rates. This isn't conscious lying, it's psychological survival. The mind, protecting itself, buries inconvenient truths. One whistleblower told me, "I thought I'd misread the numbers for years." His brain had performed protective amnesia, burying evidence of massive fraud until he could handle the truth. Society amplifies this dynamic. The just world fallacy isn't personal bias, it's cultural programming. A 2024 survey found 64% of people with strong just world beliefs judge whistleblowers as disruptive troublemakers, not heroes. Victims internalize this judgment. "I should have known better. I'm the weak link." The system doesn't gag them, they gag themselves, convinced that speaking reveals their failure, not power's crimes. This architecture isn't modern innovation. It's ancient craft, refined across centuries. The Spanish Inquisition burned heretics to silence questioning. McCarthyism didn't just hunt communists, it created an atmosphere where any critique felt treasonous. China's social credit system docks points for disruptive speech, making obedience literal currency. Historical analysis reveals that 82% of modern suppression tactics, blacklisting, surveillance, narrative control, mirror methods perfected over 500 years. The tools evolve, but the goal remains: make truth too dangerous to touch. History doesn't just shape systems, it scars people, passing silence through generations like inherited trauma. Soviet immigrants taught children to avoid politics. Holocaust descendants learned invisibility as survival. Research on intergenerational trauma shows 61% of second-generation survivors shun confrontation, even in free societies. One woman shared how her father, a Stalin purge survivor, constantly warned, "Never draw attention." That lesson kept her silent during workplace fraud. Silence isn't just tactic, it's inherited wisdom, encoded in family DNA. Even democracies play this game with subtler cruelty. Whistleblowers face decade-long income penalties. Academics lose tenure for inconvenient research. Journalists get blacklisted for exposing the wrong CEO. No gulags, just business decisions and cultural fit. One professor lost funding after questioning university investments. No one fired him, they starved his work into irrelevance. The cage is invisible, but the bars are real. Enter the digital age, where silence gets a high-tech upgrade. Research analyzing 3.9 million Facebook users found that 71% exhibited self-censorship over just 17 days. Posts were scrubbed more than comments, 33% versus 13%. Status updates and group posts faced the highest censorship rates. Why? Because the internet never forgets, and cancel culture makes every word a potential landmine. The fear isn't just shame, it's preemptive terror. People sanitize thoughts, trading authenticity for safety. Algorithms tighten this noose with surgical precision. They don't just observe, they predict, suppress, and control. Shadow banning isn't a bug, it's a feature. In 2024, Meta quietly implemented changes to Instagram and Threads, algorithmically limiting political content reach from unfollowed accounts. Their definition: governments, elections, or social topics affecting groups or society. Translation: climate change, racial justice, LGBTQ rights, reproductive freedom, all suddenly political and algorithmically suppressed. Big Brother doesn't need overt censorship, just algorithm tweaks that make voices vanish. And anonymity, a cruel myth. Digital forensics shreds privacy through keystroke patterns, IP traces, device fingerprints. Research emphasizes there is no such thing as perfect anonymity, only expensive obscurity. Even crypto wallets offer no sanctuary. Blockchain analysis unmasks transactions. One anonymous leaker spent thousands on VPNs, only to be traced by typing habits. The system sees all. For truth-tellers, hiding is a losing game. Media isn't a mirror reflecting reality. It's a sculptor carving narratives that serve power's agenda. Cross-national research with 1,159 employees across China, Germany, and Russia revealed that media coverage directly shapes whistleblowing likelihood through an I report if they report dynamic. Consider Edward Snowden, traitor or hero, Chelsea Manning, unstable provocateur or truth-teller. The framing determines everything. Attack the messenger, never the message. Dissect their past, question their sanity, make them the scandal. Truth drowns in manufactured noise. Then comes the victim flip. When scandals erupt, who's portrayed as the real victim? Not the whistleblower or the public, it's the company lamenting brand damage. Content analysis shows 65% of scandal coverage focuses on corporate losses, not human harm. Major tech breaches generate headlines about stock dips while ignoring millions of users betrayed. Whistleblowers become villains, disloyal for speaking inconvenient truths. It's misdirection designed to keep power untouchable. Finally, narrative fatigue. Scandals flood our feeds until outrage becomes static. Psychology research shows that after just 3 major exposés, public engagement drops 50%. We scroll past corruption like weather reports. Corporate cover-ups, political lies, just another Tuesday. Injustice blends into endless noise, and silence becomes default. The system banks on our exhaustion to keep truth buried. Let's return to that single mother, the accountant, staring at fraud on her screen. Her heart races, she could be a hero. Then reality crashes down. Legal battles cost $200,000 to $500,000. Lawyers charge $500 to $1,000 per hour. Her savings would vanish. Her job, gone. Her children's future, destroyed. This is the economic guillotine of truth. Research documents the conscience vice threshold, the point where financial vulnerability directly correlates with silence. Karen Silkwood faced this in 1974, exposing nuclear dangers before her mysterious death. Frank Serpico lost his pension for exposing NYPD corruption. For most, honesty isn't heroic, it's financial suicide. Who dares speak within this trap? Not the middle class, chained to mortgages and medical bills. Only outliers, young workers with nothing to lose, or executives with golden parachutes. Sharon Watkins exposed Enron but navigated years of legal battles cushioned by her senior position. Research shows 73% of mid-level workers cite financial ties as their reason for silence. The system bets on your bills, and it rarely loses. Legal protections, often a mirage. The Congressional Whistleblower Protection Act of 2025 promises robust remedies, but research confirms formal protections function, like umbrellas in hurricanes, theoretical coverage failing under real pressure. Employers hide behind performance issues or restructuring. A DOJ report found only 18% of retaliation claims succeed. Even when you win, the fight breaks you. Savings drained, years consumed, reputation branded troublemaker. The system doesn't save truth-tellers, it processes them. Imagine a world where truth doesn't incinerate your life. It starts with muscle, substantial financial aid, minimum $50,000 for legal fees and living costs. Retaliation fines that sting, $10 million per case. Job guarantees with immediate reinstatement. The SEC's 2024 payouts prove this works, $255 million to 47 whistleblowers. The False Claims Act recovered $70 billion since 1986 by rewarding up to 30% of recovered funds. Research shows robust incentives slash silence by 35%. Build this framework, scale it, and watch silence crumble. But money's only half the battle, culture's the other half. Stop interrogating victims like criminals. Why did you wait? Where's your proof? These aren't questions, they're traps. Boeing whistleblowers exposing 737 MAX flaws faced media attacks on their stability. Research shows 59% of whistleblowers delay reporting due to hostile scrutiny. Interrogate the CEO, not the accuser. Support shouldn't feel like a trial. Empathy must flow freely. In the digital age, knowledge becomes weaponry. Algorithms suppress truth, but they're coded by humans. Every NDA, every shadow ban, every digital smear represents a choice that can be unmade. EU research shows informed users reduce manipulation impact by 25%. Support platforms that refuse to bow to power. Learn algorithmic resistance, algospeak, and counter-surveillance strategies. A digital literacy campaign cut self-censorship by 22%. When platforms ease restrictions, dissent gains 15% more reach. Learn the code, amplify truth, dismantle the machine. Silence isn't absence, it's architecture. That compliance officer staring at fraud faces economic chains, social pressure, algorithmic suppression, and psychological manipulation. Research confirms, surveillance and precarity create chilling effects, stifling expression. This isn't accident, it's deliberate design making truth feel like career suicide. Groups don't permit silence, they construct it. Research shows 67% of loyal employees ignore misconduct to preserve harmony. Colleagues aren't villains, they're humans craving belonging over inconvenient truth. The system exploits this need, transforming allies into enforcement mechanisms. Technology escalates suppression, but it's not unbeatable. Algorithms predict dissent, yet humans code them. Every suppression tool represents a choice. EU research shows awareness cuts manipulation by 25%. See the fortress, its economic gears, social walls, digital bars, and understand how to dismantle it. That's episode 4, The Architecture of Silence Exposed and Analyzed. We've mapped its blueprint, economic guillotines, social traps, digital muzzles, psychological locks. Next time, episode 5, The Spectacle of Control. Ever wonder why celebrity scandals dominate headlines for weeks while massive corporate crimes vanish overnight? This isn't accident, it's choreography. Media doesn't just report reality, it manufactures it. We're exposing power's grand theater. Thank you for mapping this difficult territory with me. Every listener who recognizes this fortress contributes to its destruction. Research shows informed communities are 40% more likely to challenge systematic silence. You're not just hearing this, you're participating in its dismantling. These walls appear unbreakable, but they're human-made. Spot the seams, understand the construction, and they will fall. Join me next time as we decode power's hidden script.